Welcome back to a closer look here in the Creepy Crawler's Garage. This week's a little different because we didn't have an episode of the RC Shop last Monday to actually take a closer look at. And well, we had a plumbing issue here in the garage and in the studio, and I'll just leave it. It was quite a mess, and I'll just leave it at that. But it did push our edit time back, so the RC Shop episode is not actually going to air till next Monday. But I didn't want to miss the closer look episode this Wednesday for you guys, so we're going to go ahead and do that and take a closer look at what you're going to actually see this coming Monday on the RC Shop. Welcome into the garage. I believe last time we got together, all we had was an assembled motor. I don't believe it was installed into the chassis just yet, but now you can see we have actually got it installed. In fact, if you follow my Instagram page, you would have seen this getting installed, and I believe I covered it a little bit on last week's behind the scenes. But anyways, I just wanted to give a quick closer look at the installed motor in the chassis. As you recall, we had some issues with installing this motor because we didn't have header clearance between the headers and the shock towers. Well, we've moved those out 6 millimeters on both sides, and I've put in metal spacers. I originally spacered them with some 3D printed spacers that I made. They weren't really that strong, so I went ahead and ordered up some metal spacers, which now you can see are in there. We've got 6 millimeter spacers between the shock towers and the frame rails, and then we kept the 6 millimeter space between the shock tower and the shocks also, so top and bottom. You can see that the shocks are not completely vertical. You can see they're leaning a little bit that way, and that's because we still got to make adjustments to the panhard bar, get all that correct. And I've got link material coming in so we can make the exact length of a panhard bar we're going to need to correct that and make sure everything's nice and square and the geometry is right. So I went ahead and slid the body on to right about where it's going to be when it's mounted. So this is obviously it's going to be more solid, but this is where it's going to be when it's fitted at this level. And what you can notice is how much this motor sticks above the hood line. So here's your fender line. You can see it's sticking up, I don't know, I think it was a good 3/4 of an inch above the hood line. So when we tried to put the hood on, obviously it wouldn't close. It would hit on top of the fuel injection. And so we had to make or come up with an idea to create hood clearance for this motor. And that's what we did that's what we will be doing in the upcoming episode of the RC Shop. But I thought what I'd do is go ahead and give you guys a closer look at what we've already done. So let me turn the motor, or turn the truck, and then if I slide the hood on, let me see if I can do this one-handed, holding the mic with my other hand. There we go. It's pretty close. You can see what we did is just added a cowl induction that sticks up a pretty good bit, about 3/4 of an inch, to give us that clearance. Let me kind of open the hood. So now we have the clearance for the motor. The motor basically just sits right inside of this cowl. And it really wasn't that hard to do. Let me pull the hood off for you, and we'll take a closer look. It wasn't that hard to do. Basically, what you see here is the original hood. In fact, if I flip it over, you can see all this, the front rim, and then down the sides. That's the original hood, and we just cut out the middle. And what I did is I 3D printed kind of a mock-up cowl. So I just modeled this out. I took a bunch of measurements off the truck and then modeled this out and gave it a rough 3D. You can see this 3D print's super rough, which is fine because this was just a mock-up, because this is what I used. One, to make sure it was going to work as far as clearance on the actual truck, and two, to mark out where I needed to make these cuts in the hood so that I could do a final gluing of a permanent cowl, which is what this is, into the hood. And this right here, basically I just went back. It's pretty much, I made some minor changes to the model from the template, just very minor, and then just basically did a full fill print, like a heavier print to make it stronger. The best way I can say it is this was, I believe, about a 45-minute print, somewhere in there, hour at the tops. This cowl that's already been installed and molded in was about 12-hour print, just to give you an idea of the difference of the structural strength of this one compared to just a template. And I suggest doing it that way. Obviously, don't go do a final print just to try to do a mock-up, and then you find out this isn't any good and you've used half a roll of filament and wasted a lot of time, like 12 hours printing it, and then this doesn't even work out and you have to make a new template. I always say just do it in a real rough print. You can see it's even got a little the print itself is not that good. It's a little warped and whatnot, but that's okay. We were just all I needed was this surface along here to give me what I needed to cut in the hood, and would it work? Which it did. But anyway, so that's how we got to this, and basically I just it's glued in and then molded with body filler. You'll see all that on the episode of the RC shop. But basically, you just have to take your time. So one, 3D prints are rough, so they take a lot of sanding. And then two, you want it when you mold it, like you can tell that I molded this in up front here. You have to body fill, sand, body fill, sand, body fill, sand, body fill, sand. Just take your time. I grab a box and I sit in front of a TV and I sand over top of a box while I watch some Netflix or something. That's the best way I can do it. But yeah, you just got to take your time and work it back to that shape you want. Same on the sides here, because there was a body line. If you remember, this original hood had a cowl already, so I had to mold in this body line into this new cowl, which I think turned out pretty well, and I think I got it pretty squared up on both sides. But yeah, I think I really like the way it turns out. Let me go and slide it back on here. We can take a final look. I got it fit those into the hinges back there. Let me see. Get in there. There we go. And I think it gives it a pretty good look. And then, once we end up putting the new fender flares and everything else on here, I think it's going to look pretty good. I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. So I don't know if you guys noticed back here, but we got a Samurai sitting back here, and I don't want to give you too much of a look at it yet. You're going to have to watch the RC Shop episode to actually get a closer look at this one, and then we'll take a closer look at it later. But for now, I just wanted to give you a quick look. This is actually a project that Frank is working on for the Highway 1 RC guys. In fact, we're building this to represent a truck from their childhood. So their father, Chris's father, had a Samurai like this, and we're replicating it. And I actually have Frank working on this, and there's going to be a segment in the RC Shop episode this week of Frank building this. I think y'all will get a kick out of. But I just wanted to give you a quick look at this project. This project's actually been sitting around the shop for quite a while, and that's why I just went ahead and said, Frank, you go ahead and take care of it. Let's get this done. So he's going to be this is basically where we're at now, and then we're going to have to start building some links for it, which we're going to work out, take it out on the rock, see how it works, probably change them up again. But that's a project that he's going to be working on, so if that's something you want to watch, make sure check out the RC Shop episode coming up. Thanks for joining me again. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to keep up with these builds going on in the shop, make sure and hit that subscribe button. Also, turn on the notifications. Make sure you get notified when new episodes come out. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this episode, and leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the builds going on, like the Gremlin build, or maybe about Frank's build that he's doing on the Suzuki. Also, go hit up the Instagram page. I've been posting a lot of pictures there of stuff that gets done in between episodes. So if you're interested in that, make sure and hit the description. Check out the Instagram page. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Later.